Judas Iscariot. Betrayer or misunderstood agent? For over 2,000 years, one name has echoed through history as the ultimate traitor, Judas Iscariot. His very name has become synonymous with betrayal, reviled in sermons, art, literature and doctrine as the man who sold the Son of God for 30 pieces of silver. But what if we've misunderstood the crime? At the Bible Investigation Bureau, we don't settle for surface answers. We re-examine the evidence, we question assumptions. And when we opened the case file on Judas, the findings were not what we expected. What if Judas didn't betray Jesus in the way we've always believed? Yes, he handed him over, but to what end? And with what intent? In this investigation, we dive deep, historically, linguistically, and spiritually, into Judas's true role in the crucifixion of Christ. We examine the ancient words used by Jesus himself. We trace prophetic trails from Zechariah to Gethsemane. And we confront a sobering question. Was Judas trying to stop Jesus from dying? If so, then the betrayal wasn't about money, it wasn't about greed, it was about obstructing the greatest mission in human history, redemption through the cross. Prepare to re-evaluate everything you thought you knew about Judas Iscariot. The truth may be more complex and more tragic than tradition has told. This is not a defense of Judas, it's a call to look again. Did Judas betray Jesus? According to the evidence compiled by the Bible Investigation Bureau, the answer may surprise you. No. But if that's true, why did Jesus himself refer to Judas as a betrayer? This question strikes at the heart of a narrative we've believed for centuries. It's time to re-examine long-held assumptions and open the case file on Judas Iscariot, the universal charge, Judas the betrayer. Every major religious tradition agrees Judas betrayed Jesus, but are we certain we understand what that means? Did Judas truly betray Jesus? If so, what exactly did he betray? Yes, Judas handed over Jesus, but how did he do it and to what end? The core misunderstanding. What was Judas really opposing? Judas didn't betray Jesus' body, he betrayed his mission. Jesus came to earth with a clear objective, to die for the sins of humanity. He knew this was his destiny and he walked toward it willingly. Anyone who supported that plan, no matter how painful, would be a collaborator in God's redemptive design, not a traitor. So if Judas's actions helped fulfill Jesus' mission, why is he branded as history's most infamous betrayer? The answer is critical. Judas wasn't trying to help the mission, he was trying to stop it. The three layers of Judas's role in this divine saga. In the unfolding drama of salvation, Judas operated with a complex mix of motives. He wasn't simply a villain, but a man trapped in short-term schemes, blind to eternal consequences. He played three key roles. 1. His aim was financial gain. What will you give me if I deliver him over to you? So they paid him 30 pieces of silver. Matthew 26:15-2. His assumption was that Jesus would escape. Judas had seen Jesus raise the dead, feed multitudes, and open blind eyes. He likely believed Jesus would perform another miracle, escape arrest, embarrass his enemies, and emerge stronger than ever. 3. He wanted the money, but not Jesus' death. Judas hoped to profit and still see Jesus walk free. But when events spiraled out of his control, he panicked. The true betrayal, not against Jesus, but against redemption. This is where the betrayal takes shape, not in handing Jesus over, but in trying to stop him from dying. Without the crucifixion, there is no salvation. Humanity would be left to perish in its sins. Judas didn't betray Jesus in the emotional, relational sense. He betrayed the very mission of salvation. When he realized Jesus was allowing himself to be arrested, his scheme collapsed. When Judas, his betrayer, saw that Jesus was condemned, he changed his mind and brought back the 30 pieces of silver. Matthew 27:3. He returned the silver, not because of guilt alone, but because he now understood. Jesus was not going to resist arrest. The plan was unfolding as Jesus had always said it would. Judas's betrayal was this: he tried to prevent the cross. Zechariah's prophecy and the price of a slave. Judas's act of selling Jesus was not just betrayal, it was fulfillment of prophecy. So they weighed out as my wages 30 pieces of silver, and the Lord said to me, "Throw it to the potter," the lordly price at which I was priced by them. Zechariah 11, 12, 13. See also Matthew 27, 9, 10. In Genesis, 30 shekels was the price of a slave. In modern terms, it was about 4 to 5 months' wages, roughly $5,000. Not a fortune, but enough to tempt a man in financial distress. Yet when Judas saw that Jesus would not escape, he tried to undo the transaction. He did everything he could to stop the crucifixion. But this, paradoxically, is where the true betrayal lies. Jesus didn't call Judas a betrayer in the way we think at the Last Supper. Jesus said, "Truly, I tell you, one of you will betray me." Matthew 26, 21, Mark 14, 18, Luke 22, 21, John 13, 21. But the Greek word used for betray is paradidomi, meaning to hand over, to deliver up, to surrender. This is a legal and procedural term often used in military or judicial contexts, like turning someone into the authorities. It doesn't carry the emotional betrayal we often associate with treason among friends. In effect, Jesus said, "One of you will hand me over." This phrasing frames Judas not as a friend turned traitor, but as a legal informant in a cosmic trial. The Aramaic perspective, masa, and legal transfer. Jesus likely spoke Aramaic at the Last Supper. Scholars believe the original verb could have been masar, MSR, which also means to hand over. In Jewish legal texts, masa implied someone who delivered another to Roman authorities, a morally serious action. Jesus wasn't necessarily angry at Judas. He understood that Judas was a piece in a divine strategy that stretched back to Genesis. Why Judas? And why now? Why did it have to be Judas? Why not another disciple? We'll explore that more in the next investigation. But here's the irony. Judas's financial desperation, his desire to scam the system, collided precisely with Jesus' divine timing. The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. John 12:23. My time is near. Matthew 26:18. Though Jesus had escaped many prior assassination attempts, this time he did not. The hour had arrived. Judas didn't realize he had stepped onto a divine stage. The Peter parallel, another attempt to block the cross. Peter, too, tried to stop Jesus from dying. "Never, Lord," he said, "this shall never happen to you." Matthew 16:22. Jesus replied, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me." Matthew 16:23. Why such a harsh rebuke? Because any attempt to block Jesus from the cross is seen as satanic interference. Peter wanted to preserve Jesus, but in doing so, he inadvertently endangered humanity's redemption. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. Both Peter and Judas, though vastly different in outcome, stood in the way of the cross. The difference was, Peter repented, while Judas despaired. Conclusion. Betrayal redefined by the true meaning of the word. You can't betray someone by helping them fulfill their purpose. Judas betrayed salvation. He betrayed humanity's redemption. And he did it without fully understanding what he was doing, or when. His act came just as Jesus' hour had come. As we'll explore in our next investigation, Judas's journey toward financial desperation intersected with divine destiny, making him not just a man in crisis, but a historical flashpoint in God's plan to save the world. And so the question remains, did Judas really betray Jesus? Or did he simply miscalculate his part in the most important mission ever assigned to a human soul? As we close this phase of the investigation, one thing becomes painfully clear. Judas didn't betray Jesus out of hatred. He betrayed the mission out of misunderstanding. He acted not as a cold-hearted traitor, but as a man out of time, trying to control a plan he never fully grasped. But a new question now rises from the shadows. Why was Judas broke at the exact moment Jesus was ready to die? Was it a coincidence or a divine convergence? In our next report, we'll peel back the final layers of this mystery. The financial collapse that pushed Judas to strike a deal and how that very moment aligned perfectly with Jesus' hour of destiny. You won't want to miss it. Return to the Bureau soon, where we'll uncover how economics met eternity in the hands of a desperate man and an unstoppable God.